The abandoned mine was supposed to be empty, but deep underground, Matthew heard someone calling his name. Matthew had always loved exploring forgotten places. When he found an old map leading to a collapsed silver mine in the Nevada desert, he couldn't resist. He should have. The entrance was barely a hole in the earth, hidden beneath shifting sands. He crawled inside, his flashlight casting jagged shadows across the walls. Then the wind stopped, and the first voice whispered, "Matthew." He spun, heart pounding. The tunnel stretched into darkness, empty. His own breath echoed too loudly. Then he heard it again, closer. "Matthew, come see." The walls felt too tight. The deeper he went, the less his flashlight seemed to cut through the dark. The air smelled of damp earth and something old. He turned to leave. The passage behind him was gone. Panic surged through him. His footsteps quickened, but the walls kept narrowing. The whispering grew louder, voices overlapping. Then, up ahead, a flickering glow. A lantern. A man stood in the tunnel, back turned, unmoving. Matthew reached out, and the man turned. There was no face. The lantern went out. His breathing was ragged. He pressed himself against the tunnel wall, forcing himself to think. The whispering was all around him now, seeping from the very rock itself. He fumbled for his phone. No signal. The flashlight flickered. Then, a sound, distant, rhythmic, the scrape of something dragging along stone. The voice returned, now impossibly close. "Come see." A hand gripped his shoulder. He screamed. Darkness swallowed him. When Matthew opened his eyes, he was lying on damp rock. The mine was silent. For a moment, he thought he had imagined everything. Then he saw them. Figures, barely visible, standing at the edges of his vision. Not moving, not breathing, watching. He scrambled to his feet. The tunnel ahead yawned open, stretching deeper into the earth. Behind him, the passage had vanished entirely. There was only stone. A whisper slid through the dark. "You came too far." Matthew turned wildly, searching for an exit. The figures didn't move, but somehow they felt closer. Then one stepped forward, its limbs twisted, its head tilting at an unnatural angle. When it spoke, its voice layered over itself, as if many mouths were speaking at once. "Now you stay." Matthew ran. He sprinted blindly through the tunnels, the flashlight bouncing wildly in his grip. The whispers followed him, growing louder, merging into a chorus of unintelligible voices. Then, the tunnel opened into a vast chamber. The walls were covered in symbols, carvings so old they seemed worn by time itself. And in the center of the chamber, a pit gaped like an open wound in the earth. Something moved within it. A deep, guttural sound rose from below, something ancient waking from slumber. Matthew staggered back, heart hammering. The figures had followed him, surrounding the chamber's edge. Their mouths opened in unison. A voice, his voice, spoke from the pit. "Come see." The ground trembled. The air turned thick, suffocating. The pit yawned wider. Matthew took a step back and felt hands seize his ankles. He was dragged down. Weeks later, a search team found his backpack at the entrance. No footprints leading inside, no signs of disturbance, just his voice, sometimes drifting on the wind. Come see. Some places are better left forgotten. If you enjoyed this story, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. But if you hear a voice calling your name, never follow it.